All right, I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Welcome to another live lesson. The title of this one is start off by saying, so the Latin and native tribes aren't Israelites, eh? Just gonna say a couple of words on it, because this is not something new. This is just a new demon that's out again, But they've been saying this for a while, that the so-called Latin tribes and the so-called Native American Indian tribes are not Israelites because of the way that they look. And that's something that goes way back. There was an individual by the name of Amathia, which he's back in the spirit world. And I've heard, from Elder Apostle Tar, that he said, if it look white, it's white, or something along those lines. So basically, if it looks like an Edomite, it's an Edomite. So, the whole consensus back then also was, if you wasn't dark enough, you wasn't an Israelite. And then some Israelites go so far as to say, if you're too dark, you're not an Israelite. So what the fuck is it? And if you look at a lot of those jakes out there in the land of Ham, in the areas that are predominantly Israelites, they are very dark. And you have a lot of jakes, from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi over here in the Americas, that some of them are light, because of the intermingling and the mixing. You have some that damn near look like so-called white people. You have some that are still, very dark. You have some that are medium brown. You have some that look yellowish, red bones, so on and so forth. But the crazy thing is that these guys that say these things, they never talk about the dark-skinned Edomites, the ones that the slave masters, raped the women, popped them, and had children with them, and then children came out super dark. And they put them back out on the field, and they never talk about that. And even Lauryn Hill says some nappy heads got to check their neck for red, but they never talk about that. But as long as you're charcoal black, then you're good. You're an Israelite, Doesn't matter what your father was or whatever. To them, it's all about what you look like. And the scriptures speak about that. Let's go real quick to the book of 1 Samuel, the 16th chapter, and I believe it's the 7th verse. All right, so I start at 6. And this is when Samuel went to go choose one of the sons of Jesse to make him king. It says, and it came to pass when they were come that he looked on Eliab, which was the firstborn, and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. And when you go into Ecclesiasticus, trying to think, it's the 11th chapter, Ecclesiasticus 11, right? I'm going to have to take this call, brother, so Salakia. Okay, Salakia about that. So let's go real quick to Ecclesiasticus chapter 11 and verse, let's see, 2. Commend not a man for his beauty, neither abhor a man for his outward appearance. What does it mean, abhor? It means to avoid. All right, so it doesn't matter, what the individual look like, as long as he's an Israelite. It's about the spirit. It's not about the flesh, because if that was the case, then they would throw Blake Griffin. They'll throw his son out into the trash because he looks like a so-called a white boy, but he's not. He's an Israelite that just happened to look that way, So these guys are not spiritual. That's what the scripture says: spiritual man receiveth not the things of the spirit. And this lesson is not so much as going like deep, it's just hitting some surface things that came to mind, that I want to touch on right quick. And Salaki, I had to use this 12 tribes chart. This is the Madison Ave. They have a problem when we use their stuff, which I really didn't want to use it. I wanted to use our 12 tribes chart, but here it is. We made the 12 tribes chart. Now it's on Pinterest or whatever, however the hell you say that. So you can't get it unless you open up an account there, so you can access, the very 12 tribe chart that a brother that used to be in the school or being in Great Millstone did years ago. So now you got to make an account just to get access to what belongs to us anyway. But anyway, this is the 12 tribes chart. This was the breakdown that was given to High Priest Ariah. These are the names, the biblical names, and these are the names that they were changed to, in the by the so-called white man, such as the so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Dominicans, so on and so forth. And it was always taught that they were of Negro and Indian descent. And even Abba Bivens said that. He said, you Puerto Ricans and so on and so forth. He said that they were Israelites. But back then, Elder Abba Bivens didn't know which tribe each one of these belonged to. But the Spirit revealed it to High Priest Ariah which one they belonged to. And just a quick testimony before before the Lord even brought me into the truth, I always knew, for some reason, that so-called Negroes and so-called Latinos, that we were the same people. Don't ask me how. That was it's just something that I always believed. And it wasn't until I got to the school that feeling was confirmed. When I saw the 12 tribes chart, and I was like, wow. So the Spirit reveals certain things to us. Why? Because we are Israelites. The scriptures say, Romans 8:14, for as many as are led by the Spirit of the Most High, they are the sons of the Most High. And the scriptures say that there shall no heathen enter into the congregation of the Lord. So if a man is in this thing, if you have an individual that comes into this knowledge and is teaching this knowledge and is breaking down the mysteries of this Bible, there's no way that he can be a heathen, because the Lord wouldn't allow that. The Most High said that a heathen wouldn't come into this thing. And it says that none of the wicked shall understand in the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter. So how in the hell is the Lord going to bring a heathen into his sacred word, into his sacred temple? So it says, for you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. Why? Because the Most High adopted us back to himself by the blood of Yahushua. It says, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So the Spirit of the Lord, which is what? This Bible. It bears witness with our spirit. And that's why you have the so-called Latinos and Native American Indians, outside of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, that are attracted and that are drawn to the Most High, to what they call Jesus, even though that's not Yahushua, but they're drawn to that. They're drawn to the book, to the Bible. Why? Because we are all Israelites. And when you want to get technical, you have the tribe of Issachar, right? Which are the so-called Mexicans, right? For instance, they have what they call the Mayan calendar, right? So they have a Mayan calendar because they study the stars and they put calendars together. Now this is something that was given to the tribe of Issachar in 1 Chronicles 12:32. Let's read that. It says, and of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times. What does that mean? Meaning they understood by reading the stars and the alignment of the stars, or whatever the case is, that they were able to tell of future events. That's why in the year 2000, they said there was going to be a shift. There was going to be a change. And we see the change coming, because really Esau is going down and we're coming up. This society and these nations are going down, and the Israelites were coming up. So it says, and of Issachar, and of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do, the heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment. So they had the understanding of the times. And today we have examples of that, of this Mayan calendar, and that's among the so-called natives, so-called natives or Latins, Latin tribes among Issachar, the so-called Mexicans. Let's see what it says, times. See what it says for times. Understanding of the times. It says ith. Time of an event, time, unusual, experience, fortunes, occurrence, occasion. And this was because there was a watch. And what was the watch all about? There were different watches in the night to keep track of the different moons and of the high holy days coming in, of different events, because the knowledge of the skies, which is not wicked, but Esau and the other nations made it wicked, was something that was given for what? Let's go to Genesis 1:14. And the power said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. So they have an office, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So there were signs in the heavens. And what were these signs? These were things to look for. That's what Yahweh said, when you see this, you know what's going to happen. When you see that, you know something's going to happen. When you see uproars of the people, when you see the wars and rumors of wars, know that the end is near. A sign, signal, a distinguishing mark, which is what? A token, a sign, banner, remembrance, miraculous sign, omen, warning. See, because it was a warning, token, ensign, standard, miracle, proof. So these lights that are in the heavens were given for signs, seasons, days, and years. And the tribe of Issachar, in the scripture, the tribe of Issachar were men that had the understanding of the times. And today we know that the Issacharites are the so-called Mexicans, and they fulfill that as just one of the things that they fulfill. Not even dealing with the name Yeshashkar, which means he is hired. And there's no other tribe out there that works harder than Issachar. It's a known fact, you know. But they are men that have understanding of the times. And then you look at the Mayan calendar, and they were tracking that before so-called Christopher Columbus and all them devils came over here. So this was something that they were doing here already. Why were they doing that? Because they're Israelites, and it's in their spirit, because they have the understanding of the times. You know? And this is a part of what the scriptures say, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. You know? And I just wanted to say real quick, this new Foot Locker commercial, Week of Greatness, that came out, they show you, it seemed like Jake was in that simple state, but pretty much Jake were the ones that were the chosen. And they had so-called Negroes and so-called Latinos, because they've been watching. They know what the deal is. And then they have chariots, and the shooting fireballs are supposed to be asteroids, which are really missiles, you know. And then they showed this individual here, clearly one of the so-called Latin tribes, right? And look, boom, and the chariot is beaming him up. So they know what the deal is, man. These guys, man, that call themselves Israelites, they are Johnny-come-latelys, and they're way behind, you know, in the times. The so-called Negroes, the so-called Latinos, and the so-called Native American Indians are Israelites. And what they don't understand is that they're fulfilling Scripture. Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse 5. Behold, ye among the heathen. Who's among the heathen? The Israelites. And regard this, and wonder marvelously. You're going to have to scratch your head about this. For I will work a work in your days which you will not believe, though it be told you. And what is it? That's the Israelites coming out from among all these nations, looking like those particular nations. And this is why the Apostle John, when he saw them, the angel asked him, who are these? And he played it slick. He said, thou knowest, Lord, because they didn't look like your average Israelites. Not every Israelite is going to look charcoal black, so-called. And the scriptures give us, you know, examples of this. Like the scripture that they try to quote in Hosea 8, you know, Hosea 7 and 8, about Ephraim being a cake not turned. That's talking about they dark on one side and light on the other side. It has nothing to do with being, you know, useless. That's retarded. You know, there's still Taino people. What the hell are you talking about? Taino people are no more. We never said that every Puerto Rican is an Israelite. You have heathens among them. That's where the Lord said he's going to bring them out. Nah, you come on, man. You're retarded, man. 85 loop. Get out of here, man. Matter of fact, you can get up out of here, man. You know, and this is what I'm talking about. You know, some old, and I bet you go to his channel, he got no content on his channel, or very little if he does. Jeremiah 12:9. Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. What is a speckled bird? A bird of many different colors. There's a word that's used here for speckled, tazabawai, right? It says colored, variegated, speckled. And when you look up this word variegated, right? The word is exhibiting different colors, especially as irregular patches or streaks, but also as exhibiting different colors, marked by what? By variety, because they are a variety. And then when you look up the root word tazabai, dyed stuff, something dyed, colored cloth. But let's go back. And when you put it on here, look at that. It says English, diverse colors. So it's a diversity of colors, from a dark brown down to a light brown, and even other colors. You have Israelites that look like Moabites. You have Israelites that look like Ammonites. You have Israelites that look like Hamites. You have Israelites that look like Ishmaelites. You have Israelites that look like so-called Jews. How about that? You have Israelites that look like cavemen. Come on, man. Come on. Speckled bird. Different colors, variegated, different colors. All right? And that's just a small, minuscule, examples and proofs in the scriptures. And then you have historical accounts of historians that actually came to this side of the world and interacted with the so-called Native American Indians, with the so-called Latino tribes. And they came to the only conclusion they could come to is that these are the 10 tribes of the nation of Israel. I put this in the description box. It says the celebrated Las Casas, which is Bartolome de las Casas, which wrote a book called The Devastation of the Indies, entertained no doubt that the continent of America had in early ages been colonized by the Jews. And he goes so far as to say that the language of the island of Santo Domingo, was corrupt Hebrew. And the natives here were speaking a corrupt Hebrew. And this is why Columbus brought Hebrew interpreters with him. He knew exactly where he was going. That whole farce about he was going to India, no, he knew exactly where he was going. He knew that this side of the world existed because he had records, he had maps that he inherited from his father-in-law, who might have been a Jake. That goes on to say the curious fact of the comparatively rude and uncivilized tribes of the Orinoco being acquainted with the history of the formation of Eve from the rib of Adam while he slept, who also, according to the Abbe Gili, agreed with the Mexicans in believing that light was created before the sun, which likewise was a Hebrew doctrine. That's right, because it says in the evening and the morning were the first day. So there are many customs, there are many the corrupt language, and many of the things that they did all resembled things of Israel. Why? Because they were Israelites. What was the purpose of them coming to this side of the world? To escape the Assyrian captivity, to come over to this side of the world, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments that they couldn't keep in the land of the Lord, which they were yanked out of that land for. And then in process of time, what happened? They corrupted themselves. And this is why the Lord sent Christopher Columbus and the rest of those devils to wreak havoc on Jacob of this side of the world, because the Most High had to gather his elect again. That's why Yahushua said, other sheep I have that are not of this pasture, or that are not of this fold, them also I must bring. And he came over to this side of the world to visit, the Israelites on this side of the world. That's why there's different tales of him. One is Kulkulkan, the other one is Quetzalcoatl, and many different other accounts that they bring out about the Israelites on this side of the world. Let's read a couple more of these and we'll close out. It says the knowledge of the creation of light before the creation of the sun was so opposed to the philosophical opinions of the heathen world. Why? Because they worship the sun, moon, and stars. So if you would say that the darkness was here before the sun, that would X out their belief system and their fake gods. That the interpreter of the Codex Vaticanus does not scruple to affirm that the Mexicans had either derived the knowledge of it from the devil or were a people descended from the Jews. And they are a people descended from the Jews. They didn't get it from the devil because the devil didn't teach that. It says that at the beginning, everything was dark and void. Let's go there real quick. Genesis 1:1. And in the beginning, the powers created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, which is what? Space. And the spirit of the powers moved upon the face of the waters. And the first thing they did was what? They created light. So they illuminated a certain amount. They illuminated a certain amount of those elements that were floating, that were called waters, which is nothing but elements. So they illuminated that. So that's what caused the light. But this is before. It was darkness. They illuminated some of the elements, but this is all before the sun and the moon were created. They created daylight, and the nighttime. And then eventually down the line, they created what? The sun, moon, and the stars to give light upon the earth and for other purposes, which the tribe of Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, would be able to look up into the heavens and read the times. So these guys need to hang it up. But you know what? That's that reprobate spirit that goes around every once in a while. Just like back in the days, you brothers that remember Batak, that was a former head of the Chicago camp. Him and the barbarian horde, I forgot his name, Ariyah something, or whatever his name was. They were teaching that all the tribes of Israel were black once they got kicked out or left. You see? And that's what happens. When guys get kicked out or leave, they want to try to dismantle the doctrine, the truth, so that they can feel better about themselves. Because they really got demons on them. They really got demons on them. So pretty much, matter of fact, you know what? I'll read one more of these. It says, Sahagun's history of New Spain will convince the most skeptical that the Mexican borrowed largely from the natural philosophy of the Jews, to whose moral code they were so much indebted. The Peruvians, when first, and how would they be able to do that if they were already on this side of the world? You see, the Peruvians, when first discovered by the, and we're not saying that you don't have Israelites scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, even all up and through the continent of so-called Africa. That's why you have GMS camps in so-called Africa. You have other camps down in so-called Africa that know that they're Israelites. But they're not just in Africa. The Lord said they will be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and we will be scattered among all nations. It says the Peruvians, when first discovered by the Spaniards, had already attained a high degree of civilization. But what happens is a lot of this stuff, they burned the records. Because when they saw this, they said, well, you know what? If we leave this is what their reason. If we leave this, then we won't be able to be justified in calling them savages and be able to take their land from them. So what did they do? They would burn the records. Because they already had written records here. But the Edomites, when they first came over here and encountered them, they couldn't put them in slavery because they couldn't say that, well, we have to conquer them in the name of Christianity, which is that plantation Christianity. It says, and it would appear from a passage of Gomorrah's history of the Indies that the Spaniards were struck by the resemblance of some of the tribes of Indians in the part of America to Jews. Think about it. Why? Because the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And they can't say, well, somebody got on a surfboard and came over the Atlantic Ocean and taught them that. No. This is before they had contact with the outside world. Why? Because this is where the 10 tribes came over into the so-called Americas. And they spread out north, central, south, the islands. I'll read one more and close out. It says, if the Mexicans were descended from the Jews or acquainted with the books of the Old Testament, it is the second proposition by which that interpreter of the Vatican Codex attempts to prove the first. There would have been nothing surprising in their borrowing image from passages in the Psalms and other books of the Bible descriptive of the deity or of his attributes. So they already, because it says that they went to a country where never mankind dwelt for what? To keep the laws. So obviously they had a copy of these laws. You know? And shalom to the Akim on the common board, you know. Shalom. It says one more. Implies an acquaintance on the part of the Mexicans with the book of Genesis, a fact already noticed by the interpreter of the Codex Vaticanus, who thence concluded that the Mexicans were descended from the Jews. And the scripture said that we are come forth out of the waters of Judah. The interpreter of the Codex Vaticanus is of the opinion that the ceremonies of the Mexicans, as well as their sacrifices, may be urged as proof of their being descended from the Jews. Come on, man. These are not mere coincidences. These are facts. And that's what you have Kingsborough. He wrote a volume of books, how the so-called Mexicans are Israelites. You have James Adair, who wrote a book, History of the North American Indians, and to where he says that the so-called North American Indian was speaking Hebrew. They were saying Yohewa and Yohewa Shai. Come on, man. It says that assertions of Adair that all Indians, particularly the Muskogee, have a sanctum sanctorum, which is what? The Holy of Holies, or most holy place. Where did they get that from? From the scriptures. In the manner of the ancient Jews is fully corroborated in an edited letter of M.D. Buizan, descriptive of a temple of the Natchez, who were a powerful Indian tribe dwelling on the banks of the Mississippi. You see? So pretty much I'm gonna leave it there. You know, there's a whole lot more. You know, these are excerpts. These are historical excerpts of the different encounters that some of these people that came over here, some of them may be Israelites, like James Adair. He's probably an Israelite because he comes out of Scotland. And other historians and friars and priests, you know, encountered, you know, with these people here. And this is why, you know, the only way that they can justify destroying them was by saying that they were savages. But if there were written records, how could they destroy? How can they justify taking their stuff and put them in slavery if they were already civilized? That's where the lie came in, and that's where they burnt all those records. But now the Lord is revealing all of that. You see? So pretty much, you know, that's just been, you know, my take through the Spirit on. So the Latin and native tribes aren't Israelites, eh? You know, so with that, you know, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Shalom to the Akim on the combo. Shalom to the elder apostle. It says there are two groups set up in this Israelite thing of ours, the faithful and the faithless. That's right. Now, guess what group those tree monkeys reprobates are who seek to scorn the truth? They're faithless. You know, so they might as well just be called feminine, because the word feminine means without faith. So with that, you know, I pray that your brothers have been edified. And to the next time I say, shalom. All Indians, particularly the Muskogee, have a sanctum sanctorum, which is what? The Holy of Holies, or most holy place. Where did they get that from? From the scriptures. In the manner of the ancient Jews is fully corroborated in an edited letter of M.D. Buizan, descriptive of a temple of the Natchez,